Hi, this is Mark. Today I'm going to talk about the ego, just from my limited understanding of it. I just think it's an interesting topic of discussion. Um, when I think of the ego, I tend to think of, it's just these desires, or it's to me, it's connected to the reward feedback and the projection of certain traits that we take on to optimize our position in the world. What I mean by this is, like, if you imagine yourself isolated, um, there's it could be, here on Earth, just isolated. No one exists except you yourself on this planet. Um, of course, the traits that you possess, you're gonna have your natural inclinations and these core traits, but you're not gonna have many reference points in terms of like comparison contrast of success, that we view today. And ultimately, you can just imagine this as, like, let's say you represent a function, and in an isolated plane of existence, this would be your function. Let's just suppose this is an initial function. Well, now you add people into the equation, or you add social influence into the equation. Now you have reference points of reference. If you add a few people, there's a few points of references, and there's not much information circulating around. Of course, when you come in contact, it exponentially increases. You have more ideas and more potential for success. Of course, um, and as you broaden and you keep increasing the population range, well, you're going to have more traits that you may deem desirable, because ultimately, it's like for instance, how would I put it? It's you think about, like, potential has to do a lot with the population. So the reason we reach this position in our world is because of the growth potential of the population, all the different traits that are possessed. But ultimately, this creates way more environments. Uh, we have the artificial world, so of course there's going to be all these subdivisions. Think of, like, uh, if you consider an event, you constrain the event with a certain space. Well, there's obviously more of these subsets. If everything was a natural world, it would be very open. But we created, you know, we have restaurants, we have facilities, homes, multiple, residential areas, commercial areas. So many different areas are constrained and within this smaller space. So ultimately, you have a denser population within each space, uh, or it seems like it. But ultimately, there's going to be a lot of these areas, and there's going to be optimal traits to yield success in any given such area. So, like, if you have a job or work, well, there's a higher population, more jobs available, more opportunities for success. And ultimately, um, there's going to be these dominant, or these traits that you learn, that are basically optimal to yield success in any given position, and it's connected to this reward feedback, because otherwise, if that was null, you wouldn't have that force that pulls you to actually take on or possess these traits. And it's almost like, a lot of times with the ego, they talk about like a false representation. Well, if we were talking about the original function on an isolated area, with isolated area, well, the function's going to change in proportion to, the 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 increase in desires or wants or needs, uh, based on the demands of society. So, I mean, a lot of that has to do, survival. It gets more complex, and of course, um, if you want to be in a higher position, you have to you basically have to filter out a lot of traits that you possess a lot naturally uh, to reach I'm talking about an optimal position. If you want, because success has to do with probability. What I mean by this is like um, it could be any area, job, for instance, success. Obviously, you have to work or put in some energy into the equation. If you just sit there immobile, what's your probability of keeping the job? I mean, in this fast-paced society, you're pretty much gone within, if you don't do anything. Now, of course, if you do something, well, there's a system that's put in place. So if you don't abide by the system, and they're a very structured workplace, rigid, the probability is going to be extremely low of success or maintaining that job. So um, like even with dating, the probability has to do with the personality traits you possess, and appearance. When people say it's always going to start with, it's going to start with appearance, because the receptivity of these traits has to do as a function of that, the initial attraction. So obviously, in dating world, everyone possesses a subset of interests of the population of the whole. You're not interested in every single individual, of course. You're split between, as males, females. Males naturally attracted to females, females attracted to males. So you split the population, but within those populations, there's subsets, and based on the standard. So essentially, um, once the standard is in place, it constrains, the subset smaller and smaller if there's a higher standard. But ultimately, if 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 we imagine that, or because it's very subjective, but if I were to get burned in a fire, of course, the probability of my success in that area is going to be lower. I may hit, target, like I may, so basically in any given event, let's say I put an effort, I try, well, okay, I'm more likely to fail, just because, um, you know, it, per, even though personality is obviously extremely important, but it starts with appearance. You can't get beyond that. So probability of any your success, in any given area has to do with these not only are the traits, but also even the appearance. Because even with the job, ultimately, it so happens that you're more likely to have success if, for instance, like a male being taller. There's some benefit. We don't know. You can't really quantify the increase in the benefit. So obviously, someone who's more or attractive could have more success if we're like considering like isolating those traits relative to those, but it's very subjective again. It's all, you know what you believe is this or that, and ultimately it doesn't even matter really. But for me it's just the outline doesn't really matter. It's it's really the the what goes beneath the outline. But at the same time, if you cross any given scenario or situation, there's gonna likely exist in, and we know, this now, that it's going to be emphasized to higher degrees. Certain traits are going to be emphasized to higher degrees, like positive traits. Of course, so if you're obese, we denote that with, let's say, negative. If you're fit, we tend to denote it with positive. You're confident. We denote that with, positivity. Okay, you have low self-esteem. Well, we tend to denote that as negative. So there's these poles, and ultimately the poles if they extend and increase, the range increases between these poles. The forces that pulls us in a positive direction is, it's going to be a lot of times stronger. Unless you go to the extremes, that's when you kind of become disconnected from reality. But when you're in the bounds of reality, this is where usually, the ego is, or you're possessing, this image that you desire, you want, this image that, you want to take on these traits and filter out the negative traits. And the more filtering you do, the more you're transient it becomes in different situations a lot of times. Because different situations need different traits to yield success, and therefore it's more of a evolution or an evolution of like the core image. It's very transient. It's not as static. So the ego causes that, because ultimately when you add more opportunities into the equation, when you add more areas into the equation, well, there's different scenarios. There's different, like if you have different jobs, there's different descriptions. There's different expectations. There's different, and let's suppose now you take a niche. Because with the ego, a lot of times we talk about like narcissism and whatnot, but really that's just like, they have something called a cerebral narcissist who believes they're intellectually superior, and cerebral narcissists also tend not to date because they think it's inferior. So, but in any given situation, they're going to want to. They're probably going to study a broad range. If you cerebral narcissists would want to become very, they're not going to go in depth on like one singular interest or one singular path, or take one singular pathway. It's going to be covering a broad range. Why? Because it's going to, they need to protect, or the image that they want to show or express to the world. They want, it to remain there, and ultimately in many different scenarios or many different situations. So the narcissist would invest a lot of energy in yielding these traits, but also suppressing these. It's almost as if all these. What ends up happening is those suppressed traits aren't even really you're not really consciously aware anymore, because it started from an early on period. So they were been suppressed, or they were kind of pushed aside for such a long period, so it's desensitized. And desensitization is something that's it depends on the direction that you take. If you saturate yourself in a certain area, or you place yourself in a certain area, uh, you can desensitize uh, your receptivity of of um, of certain reactions. And, based on if you think, change your mindset a certain way, or you think a certain way, or you're consumed with an area that is divergent from the area of desensitivity that creates the sensitivity of that reaction. So an example of this would be like, in academics, if you spend your whole life pursuing, intellectual or interest, or you go to a reputable or high demanding school, you have to put a lot of energy into studying, and especially if you're in like a field like mathematics. Well, you're going to desensitize the reproductive function inevitably by doing so. This is because the mind is in a different area. Ultimately, it's away from the instinctual drives and those desires, so it kind of diverges from that. So you kind of like, it goes into, you could think of it goes into hibernation. Um, so yeah, I mean, in terms of like the ego, it's really just something obviously we created as a terminology, so we can't really pinpoint exactly or absolutely. There is no like static or you know it's very or definition that is essentially going to hold for all cases. It's if you ask someone like what is the ego, it's going to go in so many different directions based on like what we because it's something that we can't. It's not observable either. It's something like when you get into trying to prove or show whether God exists. It's very difficult because the possibility, of course, God exists outside the plane, the dimensions that we live in. We cannot observe certain things because we have a range of perception. And the ego, the funny thing is it kind of constrains us within this bubble where we think, you know, it's it we think that we encapsulate our influences encapsulates a larger region than than is is ultimately a much larger region relative to what is the actually there. This universe is infinite, or it tends towards infinity. So you imagine with high ego, it's like because so much time and investment is fixated on refining these traits, everything becomes a closed. It becomes a very closed system, and ultimately you're living in this bubble of utopia, and all the traits and the reward that you get within this bubble, the reward is going to be much higher, and it kind of keeps reinforcing. And after you refine, it keeps reinforcing the reward. It maintains it or increases it. So basically, you want to exist within this bubble because it yields the best out. You think it yields the best output, or for survival, or for success, or whatnot, or anything you can imagine. And the thing is the universe is extreme. It's basically there's so much we do not know. There's so much that exists beyond this realm. Ultimately, science started with a point. Now the artificial world and the definitions and the universal laws has expanded, but it seems vast within Earth, and basically because there's so much relative to that point. But because our range of perception is it's limited, it's very minuscule what we actually know, and ultimately it's all created like mathematics just to explain the observable world. It could have been translated differently, and ultimately go a different direction and have complexity going in a different area. We have complexity, a different domain of complexity. It could be translated different. We have a different domain. Things could be, but ultimately, uh, provided that like we have these core programmable, or the genetics, which is like a programmable set of you know reactions, or just uh, permutations. Essentially, there are these like core traits that all humans possessed, and ultimately that means that the direction is going to be confined within a limit. So wherever we diverge, it's going to be limited based on the limitation, the finite. So really, yeah, with the ego, this from my understanding is it's and I don't have like too deep of an understanding, but it's something. Yes, we just created it. The definition, or it's something that we associate with narcissism. It's something we associate with. If you have low self esteem, you talk about like or some people mention like ego death, and kind of separating from the world, and be going kind of tending away from the influence of the world, because essentially the material world, there's going to be so much influence, and it's inevitable. But the thing is I think the key is, yes, to kind of balance. Know that I think obviously everyone wants these desires or rewards, or feedback, and that is kind of thing natural. It's something uh, the motivation, the reward feedback keeps us alive. It allows us to keep moving forward. It allows us to um, actually get excited for something, even if it's like a menial task. Um, so yeah, it's always going to be a function of the reward and the feedback and basically where the desires and how strong the desires are, because it could pull based on the external influence, pull you in any given direction based on all the given scenarios that are present. And if you want to gain success based on the probability, you have to condense the region of traits to optimize and refine it to get to that point. Most or be in this area that is so you could be perceived as a certain way, so that way you receive more reward, and that's kind of just kind of stems from that. And yeah, that's just all I have right now. But this is this channel is more for my ramblings. It's not going to be necessarily in linear order. That's just how my mind works. But I do try to kind of stay along the point, and I try to get back to it. You know, but sometimes I diverge too much, and I understand that it can be annoying. But yeah, this is it for today, and I hopefully or I'll post again soon on another random topic of interest, and I will see you next time.